Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the stack of sources you need, extract the critical insights, and deliver the knowledge you didn't realize you were missing.
Today, we are taking a fascinating and I think really necessary detour from our usual topics. We're stepping away from global markets, from political analysis.
We're entering a fictional world.
Exactly. But it's a world that offers, maybe the most precise and profound analogy for our current social anxieties.
Huh.
We're going into Michael Ende's classic, Momo.
Right, or its full title, which is quite a mouthful. The strange story of the time thieves and the child who brought the stolen time back to the people.
And that title tells you everything you need to know.
So, just to be clear, we're not just reading a fairy tale for fun here. We're using this text as a mirror, Our modern world is just so obsessed with efficiency, with measurement, with optimization.
And that's our mission today. We're going to cut through the narrative and pull out the core philosophical nuggets that really define the true cost of this obsession.
Things like the insidious nature of time saving, the forgotten power of real community, and this surprising, almost supernatural ability of just listening.
And to really understand the battle that's coming, we have to start where End starts. We have to establish the physical space where this whole conflict begins.
He sets the stage in the ruins of this massive, ancient city, a place that's just, rich with the ghosts of history.
And right away, he gives us this really powerful contrast between the past and the present.
He describes these grand, marvelous cities from antiquity, places built with real passion. And he focuses on the theater, these vast stone amphitheaters, sometimes circular, sometimes oval.
They weren't just functional buildings, right? They were monuments. They were monuments to staged reality.
The detail he gives is just striking.
It really is. He notes how even the coverings mattered. The lavish ones had canopies woven with gold threads stretched over the audience to shield them from the sun or, a sudden rain shower.
While the simply places just used reed or straw mats.
But the point is the effort, the sheer effort and artistry that went into the act of just viewing life, viewing drama. It speaks volumes about what those ancient people actually valued.
It suggests that watching life acted out on a stage with all its focus and drama, it was a crucial cultural act. It somehow made their own messy day-to-day lives feel more meaningful.
They were active participants in their reality, but of course thousands of years have passed. Those grand palaces and temples have crumbled.
Which brings us to the actual setting for the story. A small, forgotten ruin tucked away in a pine grove at the edge of this great modern metropolis.
And even in ancient times, it was what the source calls a theater for the poor people. Humble, modest, and now almost completely unknown.
The only people who use it are shepherds or, the neighborhood kids.
So this forgotten place becomes, paradoxically, the only spot left that represents genuine, unoptimized, forgotten community. It's real.
And it is into this space that our catalyst arrives. The protagonist, Momo.
Her physical description is immediately just loaded with meaning. She's small, maybe 8 to 12 years old, thin, and just defined by this delightful disarray.
Right. She has this uncombed, curl-black hair that's never been touched by scissors or a comb. Her skirt is stitched together from all these colorful patches, and it hangs all the way down to her ankles.
And she wears an oversized old man's jacket with the sleeves rolled up. And I love this detail. They're rolled up, not cut, because as the book says, she was thinking she might still grow into it.
That one detail is so important. It tells you she's a creature of potential, of possibility. She's not about finality or some kind of rigid plan.
And then there's her connection to the earth itself. She walks barefoot everywhere.
To the point where her feet are the same color as the ground.
And here's the immediate signal of the coming conflict. The source notes that her strange, untidy appearance might frighten somewhat people who highly value cleanliness and efficiency.
So from the very beginning, she is presented as the perfect foil to the society that's emerging. A creature of authentic, chaotic reality, totally disconnected from planned, perfect order. She is, just by existing, non-optimized.
And that takes us right into the central philosophical insight of the entire story.
The extraordinary power of Momo's deep listening.
And this isn't just passive hearing. This is active transformation.
It's more than just paying attention, right? It's like an active force for clarity.
Exactly. When Momo just sits and listens, something extraordinary happens to the people around her. If you were indecisive or confused, you would suddenly just know. You'd have this clear purpose, knowing exactly what steps you needed to take.
And it heals deeper things, too. The timid become uninhibited and bold. The unhappy and bitter become cheerful and full of hope.
But the most profound effect, and this speaks directly to the existential dread of the modern era, is what happens to those who feel meaningless.
Yes, those people who are suffering from that deep existential despair, people who feel their life is just totally misguided, that they're replaceable, disposable.
Like a broken vase, as the text puts it.
They would go to Momo, start talking, and while they were speaking, they would realize, mysteriously, that they were just profoundly and wonderfully wrong.
They realize that among all the billions of people on Earth, they exist only once, exactly as they are. And because of that perfect, unique singularity, they are uniquely important to the entire world.
That confirmation of worth, just achieved by someone listening, without judgment, without interruption, it's astonishing.
And we see this power at work in this highly detailed, almost farcical story about the two quarreling neighbors.
Ah, yes, Nicola the stout mason and Nino the thin cafe owner. They were just locked in this mutual resentment.
And what's crucial here is Momo's method. People had tried to get them to reconcile, but they refused to even speak to each other. When they finally agree to go to Momo, they sit on opposite ends of the stone steps, just glowering.
And Momo just sits there, waiting, equally distant from both of them.
Because she knew that many things need time, and time was the only thing Momo had in abundance.
Time is the cure.
So they start to speak. And Nicola starts by calling Nino a criminal. Nino accuses Nicola of trying to kill him.
And Nicola immediately clarifies. He only grabbed Nino by the collar and threw him into the puddle of swill behind his shop.
Where he assures everyone not even a mouse could drown.
But the conflict just keeps spiraling backward, revealing these absurd layers of human pride and grievance. Nicola threw him in the swill because Nino slapped him in front of customers.
And Nino slapped him because Nicola had tried to smash all his dishes.
No, Nicola corrects him. He only threw one cracked mug at the wall.
It was my mug, Nino insists.
If we were watching this, we'd stop them, right? We'd try to solve the quote-unquote root cause.
But Momo just lets them keep unwinding the thread. The argument then moves to Nicola's wounded professional pride as a mason. Nino had joked that Nicola's ancestor must have worked on the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Because he couldn't build a straight wall and was drunk all the time. Ouch.
Wait, so the near-drowning incident was revenge for a public joke about his masonry skills?
That's the scale of human pettiness we're dealing with. And that joke was payback for Nicola painting an inscription on Nino's door. He who is good for nothing else takes a tavern in the bog.
It's a ridiculous escalating spiral of tit-for-tat offenses.
Right.
But then they pause. They get caught in Momo's gaze. They start trying to apologize. But Nino remembers the real betrayal, the financial one.
It's a matter of St. Anthony.
This is where it gets really complicated. Nicola had traded this hideous chromolithograph of St. Anthony in a frame for Nino's radio, a clear loss for Nino.
But the twist, which Nino didn't know about, was that there was a banknote hidden between the picture and the cardboard backing.
So Nicola had unknowingly cheated Nino, and Nino felt cheated, which is why he stopped serving Nicola wine, which started the fight that led to the joke on the door.
The whole chain of events hinges on a banknote Nino didn't even know existed, hidden behind a truly ugly picture.
By simply providing the time and the space for them to trace this entire convoluted, ridiculous history back to its origins, the accidental banknote and the ugly lithograph, the anger just dissolves.
They realize they're still arguing over a picture Nino cut out of a magazine, and they both just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
They reconcile instantly over their shared absurdity and their mutual sense of violated honor.
Momo's gift wasn't advice. It was simply the gift of time for self-reflection.
This idea of time being the cure for conflict and also the essential ingredient for quality work, it's so central. And we see another side of this philosophy in Beppo the street sweeper.
Ah, Beppo. He is the philosophical bedrock of this little community.
Beppo is the slowest talker in the world. He takes this immense amount of time to answer even the simplest question.
And he does this because he believes that any lie, even when you say unintentionally because you're in a hurry, is the root of so many of the world's misfortunes. He has to achieve perfect precision.
And his practical advice on managing overwhelming tasks is maybe the most famous takeaway from the entire book. It's just a brilliant counterpoint to modern stress culture.
He tells Momo, never look at the whole long street at once. You must only think of the next step, the next breath, the next sweep of the broom.
Because if you look at the whole street, you just despair, you rush, you get breathless, you don't make any real progress.
But if you focus only on the immediate, tangible step, the next sweep, you begin to find pleasure in it, which is important because only thus is the work done correctly.
He's directly linking presence, quality, and enjoyment. He's reframing work as a series of achievable, enjoyable moments, not some frantic race to the finish line.
And his connection to the past also reinforces this. He tells Momo he once swept near the old city wall and recognized 5 stones of a different color. He realized they were placed there intentionally, long ago,
Right.
a secret sign he could recognize.
So he's living entirely in the moment, the next sweep, but he's also connected to this deep sense of history and craft.
And that capacity for authentic, unhurried connection is why the children flock to Momo. Her presence alone just makes their games better. It eliminates boredom, which is a key concept we're going to come back to.
There's a perfect illustration of this. The children are trying to play without her, and they're just stuck in this creative paralysis. They're sitting on the steps, unable to move past a vague idea, a kind of game.
But the moment Momo arrives, they instantly transform into the crew of the research vessel Argos, sailing towards a dangerous coral sea plagued by the continuous typhoon.
Let's just pause on the sheer specificity of the imagination here because it's so important. They aren't just playing pirate. The ship is made of blue Alamont steel, flexible and unbreakable.
And we have a full cast of characters.
Oof.
Captain Gordon, Don Mellu, the experienced seaman who survived 127 hurricanes.
Professor Eisenstein, the scientific leader, along with his assistants who have replaced entire libraries with their enormous memories.
Why is this specificity so important? I think it suggests that genuine imagination isn't vague or cheap. It has to be precise. They need scientific-sounding jargon and complex backstories to make the experience feel real and worthwhile.
And Momo, soon cross-legged, becomes the beautiful native Momo-san, answering questions about the ocean in the harmonious, mysterious hula dialect that only the professor understands.
And the threats they face are complex and fascinating. They find this glass island, which immediately sparks a furious scientific debate about whether it's an Ogulmouth by Struzinalis or a variation of the common Tropus vicinensis.
Even their scientific arguments are part of the fun.
They dive to save captured divers, and then they encounter the ultimate threat, the root cause of the typhoon itself. A mountain-sized, constantly rotating top, the Sumsum gumelasticum, which is maybe a billion years old.
The professor is ecstatic, noting it's a unique, ancient specimen that usually only appears microscopically in tomato sauce or green ink.
And their attempts to stop it are all technological. They hit it with the counterfiction cannon, which shoots proteins. But the spinning just repels the projectile. Technology and force completely fail.
So the ultimate solution comes from Momo-san, the native Momo, who speaks up and suggests they sing an ancient hula song, a simple musical lullaby.
This is a perfect metaphor for the book's entire thesis, isn't it? The most powerful ancient evil, the force causing this continuous chaos, it's neutralized not by technology, not by speed or brute force.
But by simple, shared musical play, the unoptimized human element wins.
And the final beautiful observation from that scene is that during this intense, spontaneous, imaginative play, a little girl and her brother realized that even though there was a real thunderstorm outside, with real thunder and lightning,
They had completely forgotten to be afraid.
their total immersion in that powerful, imaginative moment completely shielded them from the fear and stress of reality.
But of course, a community rooted in deep, unhurried time and authentic connection. Well, they couldn't exist forever unchallenged, especially right at the edge of a modern metropolis.
No. The idyllic world of play immediately comes under threat.
This is the invasion phase, led by the Gray Gentleman.
And they are not simple villains. They're the externalized manifestations of the disease of efficiency. And their method of operation is perfectly tailored to a modern, distracted society.
They're described as an unobserved, mute, imperceptible shadow spreading over the city.
What's so unique is that they're not invisible, but they have this sinister skill. People see them, but their gaze never truly lingers. And the moment they look away, they instantly forget they ever saw them.
They multiply daily, working in secret, exploiting human inattention and the mental rush that prevents us from truly observing anything.
Their entire existence is dedicated to one single goal: stealing human time. And they are masters of psychological manipulation, which we see in this detailed case study of Mr. Fusey the barber.
Mr. Fusey is a good man. He enjoys his work, the clatter of the scissors, the conversation, the lather, but he's having a gray day. He's feeling his life is meaningless, thinking he's just an ordinary barber.
And he looks at the magazines and he longs for a real life, which he equates with importance and luxury. And he concludes that his work just doesn't leave him enough time to get there.
And this is the crucial moment of vulnerability. Feeling that your life now is inadequate because it isn't optimized for some future measurable success.
And this is exactly when the Gray Gentleman appears. Agent XYQ384B from the time-saving house. The agent is bald, wearing a suit, and speaks in this strange, inflectionless gray voice, completely devoid of emotion.
And the agent's method is what we can call the time economy crap. It's pure, cold rationality applied directly to the human soul. He begins by reducing human existence to a quantifiable unit, seconds.
He calculates the seconds in a year, 31,536,000, and then he proceeds to calculate Mr. Fusey's entire life balance sheet right there on the mirror.
We have to look at these numbers closely because this is where the philosophy of the time thieves becomes so clear.
Right. He lists Fusey's time spent on sleep and work, the essentials, which are equal at 441 million seconds. Then food, 110 million.
But then the calculation starts to target the non-essentials, the things that actually give life meaning.
Time with his mother, 55,188,000 seconds.
His canary, 13,797,000 seconds.
Friends, his choir, etc. 165,564,000 seconds.
Wait a minute. The agents know Fusey's most private secret, Mysteria. This suggests that this efficiency movement relies not just on persuading us, but on deep, invasive surveillance of our non-productive time.
They know exactly which emotional anchors has to be cut first.
Exactly. They know the emotional cost of every single second. And the agent then lays out the trap, the promise of exponential wealth. The time-saving house won't just keep the time Fusey saves, they'll pay interest. And it's immense tempting interest. The wealth of time doubles every 5 years. If Fusey saves just 2 hours a day, after 40 years, he'd have 256 times the amount saved. Billions of seconds.
He's promised this immense future wealth of time and freedom.
The acceptance is irrevocable, but there's no contract. It relies on blind faith in the metrics of efficiency. And then comes the practical advice, which is just the systemization of spiritual death.
He has to systematically dismantle everything that gives his life texture and joy. He must serve clients faster, 15 minutes instead of 30, eliminating all conversation, because conversation is inefficient.
He has to shorten his visits to his mother and ideally put her in a good and cheap nursing home.
And crucially, he must eliminate the completely useless canary, there go 13 million seconds, and drastically cut the time he spends with Daria, the choir, and his friends.
The time devoted to love, craft, nature, community, the very essence of what we'll later call the moment flowers, is identified as the primary source of waste.
This is the critical insight. To truly save time, you have to stop living. You have to eliminate time spent on non-measurable emotional experiences. The time they're stealing is the time Fusey spends being human.
And the transformation is immediate, and it's devastating. Mr. Fusey follows all the advice, sincerely believing they were his own rational decisions. He hires more help, works with a bad disposition, and he displays the slogan, "Time saved is double time."
But the result isn't wealth or freedom. He becomes nervous, agitated, and perpetually dissatisfied. And the time he saves, it just vanishes mysteriously. It never accrues to the billions he was promised.
His days become noticeably shorter, which leads to this blind obsession to save even more time. He's a victim of his own efficiency, just frantically racing toward a goal, that future freedom that constantly retreats the faster he runs.
And the tragedy of Mr. Fusey then gets scaled up to the entire metropolis. The gray gentleman's influence is contagious because once Fusey is rushing and nervous, he demands that same speed from everyone else. He spreads the disease.
The city becomes populated by people who, despite earning more money and dressing better, walk around with these tired, unfriendly, or scowling faces and unfriendly eyes.
They're perpetually dissatisfied. They treat life like a problem to be solved efficiently. And as a result, dreaming is considered almost a crime.
This fear then manifests as a hatred of silence. They can't stand stillness because they're afraid they might realize what's truly happening to their lives, that they're trading meaning for speed.
So they fill the silence with noise. But it's not happy noise, it's a furious, bad-tempered noise.
The pleasure of work becomes entirely irrelevant. Only speed matters. Slogans reinforce the ideology, plastered everywhere. Time is precious. Don't waste time.
And the most pervasive modern mantra of all, time is money, save it.
And the architecture itself starts to reflect the spiritual decline. The old quarters, the places with human scale and history, are torn down.
And they're replaced with buildings erected based on cheapness and time efficiency, not on human fit or beauty. The new suburbs are a horror show. Endless straight lines of uniform barracks.
A literal desert of order.
And the straight lines of the buildings dictate the straight, unspontaneous, calculated lines of the inhabitants' lives. Everything is exactly calculated and planned, reflecting lives that are just devoid of spontaneity.
We see the ruinous effect most dramatically on Momo's old friends, especially Nicola and Nino, the pair who had reconciled.
Mo finds Nicola, the mason, working on these new, rapidly built high-rises, sometimes building one floor every day. He's rich, but at what cost?
She finds him late at night, and he's often drunk. He confesses that the buildings are total junk, built with too much sand in the mortar, and they'll only last 4 or 5 years.
He calls them silazuri di soufflet, soul silos.
Wow, soul silos. What a powerful, horrifying image. Dehumanization. The places people live are prisons built of false hope and cheap efficiency.
He misses the pride he took in his old craft. He is physically rich, but spiritually bankrupt. He promises to visit Momo tomorrow or the day after, but he never does.
The false efficiency of the gray gentleman has just severed his connections to authenticity and community.
And Nino, the cafe owner, has suffered a similar fate. His little local spot has been transformed into a fast restaurant at Nino's, a rapid dining experience.
The whole thing is designed to reduce the time spent on socialization. There are no chairs.
No chairs, just high, mushroom-shaped tables for standing and eating quickly. And these metal railings that force customers into a queue past glass cases of food.
And he's evicted his old, low-paying, chatty clientele, including his Uncle Ettore, because they wasted time. He said he had to make something of his business because his costs were rising. His rent went up by a third.
He's a man who's constantly stressed, checking the queue of customers who the source notes are all unhappy and grumpy. He sacrificed community, comfort, and human interaction for a false sense of progress and compliance.
His restaurant is a perfectly efficient machine for dispensing unhappiness.
So the great gentleman realized that Momo's unique ability to foster genuine connection and imagination is a direct threat to their entire operation.
And they try to neutralize her by corrupting her relationship with play. They leave her a perfect doll, Baby Girl.
Baby Girl is the ultimate consumer trap. She's flawless, beautiful, and comes with this never-ending array of miniature, high-end accessories.
A snakeskin purse, mini lipstick, a tiny camera, golf clubs, even a checkbook. She embodies this aspirational, materialistic perfection.
But the moment Momo tries to engage in imaginative play, Baby Girl replies in a continuous recorded loop. Her speech is always the same.
Hello, I'm Baby Girl, the perfect doll. Everyone envies you for me. I wish I had more things.
She talks, but she prevents any actual conversation or imaginative role-playing because she only expresses two concepts: self-admiration and demanding more consumption.
And the result is immediate and devastating for Momo. For the first time ever, she experiences boredom and powerlessness because the doll is dictating the terms of the interaction.
And a gray gentleman appears and introduces the philosophy. You must always have more and more, and then you will never be bored.
He argues that Momo has to abandon her friends, claiming she's actively harming them by preventing their necessary progress and time saving. He calls her their enemy.
It's this chilling inversion of values. The gray gentleman frames consumption and efficiency as friendship and authentic connection as sabotage.
Momo, realizing he speaks the truth of their diseased world, refuses the offer, but she still feels the sting of that boredom.
The final, massive act of social destruction occurs when they target the children en masse. After Momo disappears, which lasts a whole year in real-world time, though Momo doesn't perceive it yet, they pressure the city administration.
New regulations strictly ban playing in the streets or parks. They establish children's depots to raise children as useful members of society.
This institutionalization of efficiency is the ultimate cruelty.
Children like Paolo, Franco, and Massimo are separated and taught only useful games. They're forced to play games like punch cards, where they physically represent complicated alphanumeric data tags.
Like MUX763Y, they're literally being trained to become data points, future agents of efficiency.
And the result is they become sullen, bored, and hostile. The gray gentleman successfully eliminated the last bastion of spontaneous, unoptimized time and replaced it with programmed, measurable conformity.
The soul of the city is, at this point, fully conquered.
While the city is decaying outside, we have this brief, tragic interlude with Beppo, the street sweeper, who tries to fight the system using the system's own rules.
Right, Beppo, in his own methodical, slow way, tried to expose the truth. He frantically reports the gray gentleman to the police. He overheard them discussing an agent's failure to corrupt Momo.
And they dismiss him as insane. He's eventually hospitalized.
And it's there, in the hospital, that a gray gentleman finds him, signaled by the glowing red point of his cigar in the dark. The gentleman offers a deal that exploits Beppo's most sincere trait, his loyalty and love for Momo.
Momo in exchange for a ransom of 100,000 saved hours.
And Bebo agrees instantly. He goes back to work, sweeping frantically, working supplementary hours, moving as if it were a matter of life and death.
He believes the only way to save Momo and community is by adopting the very efficiency metrics that destroyed it.
He's misunderstood by everyone, who now just thinks he's truly insane. But he's acting from the purest motive.
Meanwhile, Momo is led out of the ruin by the most unlikely guide. Cassiopeia, the giant tortoise.
Cassiopeia is the perfect counterpoint to the rush of the modern world. She has the unique ability to write advice on her shell and predict the immediate future, about 30 minutes ahead.
So she leads Momo on this slow, deliberate chase through the city, which is now completely overrun by Grey Gentleman agents under a general mobilization order.
The irony is just delicious, isn't it? An army of speed-obsessed non-beings is chasing a slow-moving, authentic presence that can predict their every move 30 minutes in advance.
The journey ends at the home of the Time Master, Maestro Aura. His full name is Secundus Minucius Aura.
And the setting is a spiritual landscape. It's the complete opposite of the soul silos outside.
It's a colossal, windowless hall, lit by countless golden flames that burn motionlessly, consuming no wax. And the air is filled with the buzzing, whirring, and ticking of thousands of clocks of every description.
From tiny, diamond-studded pocket watches and hourglasses to colossal tower clocks. But the key detail is that each clock shows a different time.
If the outside world is obsessed with synchronized, measurable time, this place is the opposite. Time here is individualized, it's layered, it's complex.
And Maestro Aura himself embodies this timelessness. He's this delicate, silver-haired old gentleman dressed in a fashion from 2 centuries ago. But he can change his entire attire instantly, just by snapping his fingers.
He can even switch to clothing that won't be in fashion for another 100 years.
He shows Momo a strange watch with 2 spirals instead of hands or numbers. He explains that it indicates time, but it's useless unless you have the skill to read it.
So true time requires intuition and a specialized understanding, not just a quick, efficient glance at a digital screen.
And this leads us to the absolute core secret of the universe, the central metaphor of the entire story, the moment flowers.
The true nature of time.
Maestro Aura explains that each human's time is uniquely their own and must remain alive. He supplies this time to people as the flowers of the moment. These flowers bloom in the human heart, giving music, color, and vitality to life.
So let's really unpack this. If time lives in the heart as emotional, vital, subjective experience, then saving time by cutting out those emotional experiences.
Like the time with the mother, the canary, or Mysteria.
You're literally sacrificing the vitality of the very resource you think you're saving.
Precisely. The time you try to bank is time you stopped living. And here is the dark secret of the Grey Gentleman. Their cigars are made of stolen, dead time. It's the time people have discarded in their pursuit of efficiency.
And when this dead time mixes with a person's vital moment flower, it causes this terrifying spiritual disease Maestro Aura called deathly boredom.
And this isn't just temporary listlessness. It's a cold indifference where you can't laugh, you can't cry, you can't love. You become nervous, empty, perpetually dissatisfied.
You turn into a ghost of yourself.
And eventually, you're just absorbed into the ranks of the Grey Gentlemen. The Grey Gentlemen are literally the embodiment of the time people believe they were saving for later.
So Maestro Aura reveals his desperate plan. He has to sleep for a solar cycle, which will freeze the flow of time to the outside world.
And Momo's role is critical. She has to keep his single, living moment flower alive for 1 hour.
During this one frozen hour, she has to follow the desperate Grey Gentlemen to their ultimate time supply depot, this massive vault of frozen moment flowers, and stop them from reaching it.
And the Time Master reveals their ultimate vulnerability. They are entirely dependent on their stolen time cigars. If they run out, they just vanish into nothingness, returning to the void from which they came. They're made of nothing but stolen human anxiety.
The ultimate battle for the heart of humanity begins with the time quake. As Maestro Aura falls into a sleep, there's this profound shuddering, accompanied by a sound like a sigh from the depth of ages.
And the silence is absolute. All the clocks freeze instantly. The motion of the universe just stops. Everything is immovably fixed.
Momo tries to drink her chocolate, but the cup won't move. Only she, holding Maestro Aura's living moment flower, and Cassiopeia, moving slowly but deliberately, are able to move in this vacuum of time.
And the Grey Gentlemen realize their supply chain is cut. Their veneer of cold competence instantly shatters into sheer panic.
In their emergency meeting, the president reports a catastrophic loss of time from just the initial chase.
3,738,259,114 seconds.
3 billion seconds. As the president notes, that's more than an entire human lifetime wasted just in the pursuit of Momo. It underlines the sheer inefficiency of efficiency when it's divorced from purpose.
And the chilling part. The president announces their time deposits are not inexhaustible.
So Momo, guided by the slow, predictive motions of Cassiopeia, follows the frantic agents as they rush toward their central depot, a massive vault where the stolen moment flowers are kept frozen.
Inside the vault, the desperation reaches this horrifying peak. As their time cigars dwindle, the remaining agents are forced into a brutal calculation for survival.
They hold a coin toss lottery, even or odd numbers, to decide who dissolves instantly to conserve the remaining supply.
The chilling horror is in the lack of emotion. The losers, those with the designated numbers, they just dissolve instantly, leaving behind absolutely nothing. Not even their hats. They repeat this macabre lottery 3 more times until only 6 agents are left.
They literally value their collective, measurable existence more than the singular existence of any individual agent. They are truly made of nothing but the time they stole.
And Momo, hiding under the long conference table, receives her final, crucial instruction from Cassiopeia written on her shell. Touch with the flower.
She sneaks under the table, using the wilting, life-affirming moment flower to touch and shut the massive frozen vault door of the time depot.
It's the ultimate symbolic act. A fragile, wilting symbol of life and presence shuts down the entire mechanical system of stolen time.
And locked out of their supply, the remaining 6 agents, consumed by their own lack of stolen time, dissolve in panic, one after the other. The cold, which was necessary to keep the stolen time flowers frozen, immediately begins to lessen.
And with the gray gentleman eliminated, the massive supply of frozen moment flowers thaws. It lifts like a cloud of vapor and descends over the world, falling like snow, melting and returning to the hearts of the people.
Time restarts instantly. The world resumes precisely where it left off.
For the city's inhabitants, the entire frozen confrontation, the disappearance of the gray gentleman, the return of their stolen time, it all lasted only the blinking of an eye. They are totally unaware of the great battle that was just fought for their souls.
And the story ends on this particularly resonant and enigmatic note. The narrator meets a traveler who's implied to be Maestro Aura, who told him the entire tale. And the traveler adds a final, chilling sentence.
He says, "I told you all as if it had happened. I could also have told it as if it will happen in the future."
So when we synthesize this deep dive into Momo, we realize the gray gentlemen are the externalized anxiety of our own making. They're created by the collective human fear of wasted time and the blind, cold pursuit of measurable, future-oriented efficiency.
The book teaches us that the power of the gray gentleman lies entirely in their ability to convince people that authentic living, friendship, listening, creativity, love is wasted time that needs to be banked.
And they only disappear when time is physically stopped by Maestro Aura.
And then courageously re-engaged by Momo.
But the ending is complex. It's poignant. The return of time is not a perfect reset. You just have to look at the lasting effects on the community. Gigi, the storyteller, he became successful and rich in that interim year, but he's hollow.
He describes his life as being in hell, but a comfortable one. He can't truly tell stories anymore because he achieved all his dreams in the wrong, optimized way.
And this is the tragic paradox we have to address. Poor Beppo, the principled street sweeper. He finally adopted efficiency, sleeping frantically for the noblest of goals, paying the ransom to save Momo.
And because he made that deal in the frozen moment, he is now perpetually sweeping frantically, believing he still needs to gather those 100,000 hours. The efficiency he adopted has become his own personal, ceaseless prison, even though the cause of his frenzy is gone.
This tragic irony is a core insight. You can never truly save life's time for later application. That time only remains vital and alive. A moment flower, when it is lived authentically in the present without being measured against a future metric.
If you try to save it, you just turn it into the cold, dead fuel of your own anxiety.
The essential knowledge here is identifying the true cost of time saving. It doesn't yield freedom. It yields deathly boredom, which is the necessary state for the gray gentleman to thrive.
So the greatest luxury we have is time spent uselessly, subjectively, and with genuine human connection.
Which brings us back to that final provocative thought. If the narrator suggested the story will happen in the future, I mean, how close are we already to living in a world defined by the efficiency metrics of the gray gentleman?
We are surrounded by apps and advice dedicated to optimizing every second of our lives, just like Mr. Fusey was.
So the question for you, the learner, is personal and it's urgent. What useless capacity like Momo's simple, generous power to listen without judgment, or Beppo's commitment to sweeping one step at a time, what do you need to defend most urgently in your own life?
What non-optimized moments do you cherish that the gray gentleman would immediately calculate and tell you to cut?
Go find your personal moment flowers. Don't let them become gray.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a story about time, community, and the subtle heroism of being present.
We'll see you next time.